Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sal. It is Sunday. We've got another wacky Sunday slate in the NBA. We also got a normal big MLB slate, weekend baseball. It's back. It's fun. I'm going to be covering baseball as well after this. So if you're interested in that, check out this video or check out that video after this video. So we got a showdown slate, a 2-game slate, and a 4-game slate. I'll break it all down. I'll focus a little bit more on that 4-game slate. Just by far the best slate on this Sunday with these 3 smaller slates. Basketball is coming to an end, only about 10, 11 days left in the regular season. There's some nice things going on, at least on the Eastern Conference, if you're actually interested in the real game of basketball. People volleying for spots. All of those teams won yesterday. Brooklyn won, Orlando won, Detroit won, Miami won. They're all 4 of those are battling for the last 3 spots in the Eastern Conference right now. Western Conference just battling for pretty much seeding. It's all locked up there. So that's exciting if you actually like watching basketball and are interested in who's going to be in these playoffs. But that's enough. We're going to talk about daily fantasy basketball. That's what I cover. I cover daily fantasy sports, NFL, NBA, and what is right now also the MLB. I'm slacking a little bit on the MLB. I know that. I said yesterday I was going to put a video out. I tried to get one out and things just weren't working out. It wouldn't load. And then I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I went, got Chipotle, ate the Chipotle, and was ready to go for the day. I'm focusing more so on the NBA right now, which it hasn't become a total crapshoot just yet. It has maybe a little bit here and there, 1 or 2 players, but they're very low owned, so it doesn't affect the whole slate, and definitely not in cash and very little in GPPs in terms of actually being able to place high, maybe not win, but place high. So I'm still playing NBA. I personally like the sport better. I think that NFL and NBA are my 2 favorite. Haven't really played much of baseball, but I'm looking forward to get into it. I just know that right now the contests for baseball are much bigger than the NBA, although the structuring in terms of payout on those contests are apparently pretty bad. You have to place really high if you're going to enter a lot of tournaments to have a shot at actually winning. And we know how how much variance is in baseball on every given night. So that's enough of that. Let's kind of break down into this NBA slate. I'd appreciate it if you can give me a like. It helps me out a ton, especially on these weekends. More people see the videos. I want to get to 3,500 subscribers by today. That's a pretty big request, but if you like this video, it'll help more people see it. It really does. I've looked deep into the search engine stuff and these how to get other people to see your videos. I think I need like 60 or 70 more subscribers today. We've done it before, so if we can get to that 3,500 number by the end of this week, so today, I'd greatly appreciate that. So comment, like it, whatever you have to do. I greatly appreciate it. Hop into the Discord, link down below if you haven't already. Nice place to just chat about any daily fantasy sport. I have chat rooms for each of them in there. It's free. And then if you want projections, you can see above my head, I have projections for the NBA. I have an MLB target offense sheet as well up there on Patreon. And I do have MLB projections. I took them down off Patreon because I'm trying to focus more on that sheet. And it's just a lot to update along with the NBA each day. So once these 10 days are over in the NBA, I'll probably put those projections back up, and it'll be nicer because we'll actually have somewhat of a sample for this year in baseball by that time, at least a few weeks. So without further ado, let's break down into it, the injury news on this slate. Anytime you see an NA by their name, it just means they're not on the main slate for this small weekend slate that we usually get. So these teams are on either the showdown slate or the 2-game slate. That's why they have an NA and no data for the most part. It's just not pulling from my projections where I pull most of the stuff from. So Anthony Davis said that he would be a game time decision yesterday, then it quickly got upgraded to probable. So if you're going to be playing this, I believe they are playing on the 2-game slate. Christian Wood becomes an attractive play either way on a small slate, but now a lot of people know about him. If Davis gets ruled out, it bumps Christian Wood up a lot. Etuan Moore is now likely done for the season, and so is Darius Miller. So more injury news. Darius Miller was seeing around 25 minutes a game. You could expect those to kind of get filled in by Kendrick Williams, maybe a little bit of Christian Wood in terms of just people playing up. I don't think Christian Wood would ever go above the 4. I really don't think Julius Randle would ever go above the 4, so I don't know if that would impact him much, so to say. I think that you're going to get more Stanley Johnson out of that, though. Luka Doncic is going to be out today. I believe that is also the 2-game slate. Jalen Brunson gets a bump. Tim Hardaway Jr. already done for the year, so Trey Burke probably gets the biggest bump, in my opinion. Then you're going to get Maxi Kleber, and it'll just kind of trickle down because Luka is a usage monster and a production monster. Dwayne Dedmon is ruled out today in this showdown slate. Taurean Prince is questionable, and Kent Bazemore is questionable, as well as Giannis questionable. And Tony Snell already ruled out. So those are all your injury news for the showdown slate if you're somebody playing that. I would recommend that you don't play the showdown slate. There's no edge. You might think you have an edge because you've won. Oh, I've won all 3 times I've played showdown. you're getting lucky. It's about to come back the other way. If you're entering 150 lineups, you may very well have an edge, but that's the only way you're getting an edge on the field. Entering 1 to 5 lineups in these showdown slates, especially in the NBA where it's so much more variant, just because of the rotations later in the year, it's very much a crapshoot. You could play it because you want to just be entertained and put $10 into the game. That's completely fine then. Just know that in terms of winning, it is your least likely chance of winning on anything. You're playing a 1-game slate where if you don't have one player who plays well, or you have one player who plays bad, you are not even going to finish in the money. Whereas on a big slate, all you need to do is have, if you have a bunch of average players on a showdown slate, you're not going to win. You're probably not going to win any money. If you do that, guys who are just hitting value for you in cash and things like that on a bigger slate, and you just have more opportunities to soak up different types of players and be different and differentiate, you're much more likely to win by far. So those are the injury news. Keep an eye on Giannis. The nice thing is that there's a lot of question marks. Dwayne Dedmon out, so a lot of things that you can gain an edge if you just pay attention up until the last minute. Maybe some players don't change their lineups for this 1-game slate. They don't care as much, especially at lower stakes. Frank Jackson's going to be out for New Orleans as well, so we should filter. We have it filtered by team. It's just not picking it up because of the NAs. So Frank Jackson's out with a concussion. Again, so you're going to get Ian Clark playing mid-30s in minutes, low 30s in minutes. He's nothing spectacular, but he will be out there. Probably more Stanley Johnson, like we mentioned as well. This New Orleans team is just taking a beating right now. In terms of injuries, Reggie Bullock is questionable. He has been questionable for a while now. I believe that he will be out, but we'll have to watch it. LeBron, very sad here. LeBron is shut down for the year. Say what you want about LeBron, but watching LeBron James play basketball is entertaining. I mean, it's like watching Russell Westbrook, James Harden. You are entertained when you watch them play. Recently, Devin Booker has just been going off. So watching LeBron, the season that they've had out there, very forgettable, very sad. Tyson Chandler is out today with an illness. I believe that was what the injury was, an illness, so not really an injury, but he's out today, so it's going to trickle down a little bit with LeBron. You're going to expect JaVale McGee minutes to be stabilized, and Moritz Wagner getting some backup minutes there, maybe some Jonathan Williams, if you're going to be playing that 2-game slate I believe they are on. So now, let's get to the 4-game main slate, the slate that I will probably be playing the most of. I might dabble in this 2-game slate. We will have to see what the prize pools look like. Look, the NBA prize pools kind of stink. These weekend slates, I don't think nothing's touched 50 grand. During the week slates, I'm sure that they will. But these weekend smaller slates, it's been 25,000 to the top prize. So in past weeks, where if you scored 370 and won a tournament, you were winning 100 grand or at the very least 50 grand. Now you're walking home at 25 grand. So the opportunity cost of just playing a week later is immense. But I mean, if you like playing NBA, like I do, and you think that's where your edge is over baseball right now, I think it makes sense to not just throw your darts at baseball, because you're not going to beat the pros in baseball if you don't know at least what you're doing in the slightest, or giving it your all. So Trevor Ariza for this 4-game slate remains out. You're going to continue to get Troy Brown playing 26 to 28, somewhat useless minutes in terms of his production. But we'll talk about that in a second and why it matters a little bit. And I thought this was going to be filtered by team. We could filter right now. I think it was. I just added some players at the end here, so we'll sort this by team quickly. Perfect. So we'll talk about Troy Brown in a second, because now he's by somebody like Bradley Beal that I want to hit on it and say how that would impact him. So Cody Zeller remains out. They should just shut him down for the year. There's really no reason to rush him back. I don't really know what's going on with the centers here. We're getting 20 minutes constantly, low 20s to right around 20 on the dot. For Willie Hernan-Gomez, he goes out. He plays 9 against the Lakers. Bismack Biyombo got some minutes. Marvin Williams got some minutes. Frank Kaminsky. All these guys got some minutes at the 5. So I really don't know what to do with the 5 there. I'm not really interested in guessing. On a 4-game slate, it scares me because you know that people are going to take their dart throws at that position. So I'm more likely today to play single entry or very small pool, less than 100 players, usually higher buy-in, just so I don't have to worry about somebody playing Bismack Biyombo who plays 18 minutes and scores 24 fantasy points, his best game of the year, or just something random like that, because that's what's going to happen out of the center position. It's much more likely that nothing happens, right? They each just split up again 12 to 13 minutes and they're all useless, which is what I would like if I'm going to avoid that spot. Nicholas Batum, probable today, but here's the thing. He didn't play in the last game. I was looking at the game logs and I was like, Batum, last time he played was the 21st. I thought he was in that last game against the Lakers. I guess Draftkings messed something up. I looked into it, never came off the bench, got a DNP. We talked about how they were limiting his minutes a little bit, not using him as much. This man's making a ton of money. I'm sure he's fine sitting on the bench if he still makes his money, right? but he's just very unproductive, a .77 fantasy points per minute guy. We've seen Dwayne Bacon out there. We've seen Miles Bridges, who have both been fantastic in the run that they've gotten. So Batum he got a DNP last game. I expect that to remain the same. I put 0 in for his minutes projections today. Danilo Gallinari, and there's going to be people who play Batum today because they're not going to know that. So keep an eye on that, especially because on the weekends there's less media coverage just in terms of articles and streams and all that. Osmo's not doing as much NBA anymore, so not a lot of people are going to know that. Batum, there's a very high chance today on a 4-game slate he could be 5% owned and he's going to play 0 minutes. Danilo Gallinari, I have him as probable. They're on a back-to-back today. They're playing Memphis, who's also on a back-to-back. He rested yesterday. Keep an eye on that. Chandler Parsons, I have as questionable. So another thing, he came out yesterday, did not return for an illness. So I don't know if there's a Laurie marketing all over again. But keep an eye on Chandler Parsons. He is questionable today. Or at least, I don't know if the official news is questionable, but there's an illness going on, something going on with him. Mike Conley's probable. I only put this down because he came out of the game yesterday with an ankle injury. They played big minutes yesterday. I think Conley played 38. Parsons came out, which allowed Bruno Caboclo, who's been playing big minutes, to play 38. Lots of guys took big minutes. Joval, I think, played 34. So they play big minutes in a close game. So keep an eye on this on a back-to-back. This could be a perfect rest spot for a Mike Conley, even for a Joval, which I would not expect a rest for Joval because the next guy, Joakim Noah, I have him as questionable. He might very well be out. He's missed the past 4 to 5 games. If he's out, I don't know who they turn to after Joval. So I imagine Joval's in on the back-to-back. Conley, though, they've been resting him. They've been wanting to rest him. I'd keep an eye on that. Avery Bradley, don't know what the official injury report. There's nothing out yet. Again, it is 7. Tell you the exact time. I got up early today, 7:14 a.m. Got up at 5 today, did the research. So we're out here doing these videos. So yeah, Avery Bradley, doubtful. He's probably going to be out. I just have him as doubtful right now. So this is going to affect the same guys. Tyler Dorsey should see still high 20s. I have him at 28 in my minutes projections right now. DeLon Wright, he should see, I believe I have him at 29 in the minutes projections. He only played 28 yesterday, DeLon Wright, in a close game where a lot of people saw a run. So that's not concerning because he still played very well. But it just means that he's not getting those extra minutes when the game is close, like we saw out of Conley, like we saw out of Caboclo, and even Joval. All right, so Sacramento. So Sacramento is also on a back-to-back, and let's point a couple of things out. Bielitsa and Harry Giles, I want to see what happens with them. Harry Giles, I imagine, remains out. I have them both as questionable. Bielitsa missed yesterday. On the back end of a back-to-back, they're more likely to sit out and just take off that extra time. We only got 24 minutes out of Willie Cauley-Stein yesterday. I guess he just was not in a good spot against Clint Capella. I don't know if they gave more minutes to Kufis or whatever his name is. I didn't really look at the minutes. I watched the first half. But only 24 out of Cauley-Stein with these two guys out. Marvin Bagley still played fine. He still got around 30 minutes, high 20s. But they're on the second night of a back-to-back. And De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield's minutes, if you look at their past 3 to 4 back-to-backs, have been significantly limited on the second night of the back-to-back. A lot of people might not look into this, might not notice this. Again, not a lot of media coverage out there. De'Aaron Fox, I believe, he's been playing 35 minutes as of late. And on the past 2 back-to-backs, he's been under 30. I think it was 29 and 27. None of them blew out. They were both pretty competitive games. Buddy Hield's a guy who plays at the minimum 35 minutes, closer to 36 minutes on the year, at least on an average basis. You can see his average on this sheet is 32.2, but since the All-Star break, he's been closer to 35 pretty much every time out there. And he's gotten limited to 30 and 31, so pretty significant hits in the last 2. So I'd keep an eye on them, especially with their prices up. De'Aaron Fox is being as high as it has been all year at 8,200. Buddy Hield's 7,200, floating around where it's been for the past couple of weeks. But keep an eye on this. They're on the second night of a back-to-back, and these guys have been impacted, it seems, on the past few back-to-backs. Bielitsa is going to be big for me. If Bielitsa and Harry Giles are both out, I do like Marvin Williams. His price has come down. He's on the second night of a back-to-back too, which is scary. But on the last back-to-back against the Lakers, he went out and he played 36 minutes, closed the game, played the final 15. I think he's completely fine, and his price is now justifiable compared to some of these others who De'Aaron Fox is probably appropriately priced now, if not a little high. And Buddy Hield is probably right around where he should be priced, if not maybe a $200-300 too low. Washington, we talked about Ariza being out and Troy Brown being in. Bradley Beal I have on here, another thing to be cautious about. He was game time decision for rest. What does that even mean, a game time decision for rest? Just say if you're going to rest the guy or not. Why do you need to see later in the day how he's feeling? It's for rest. It's not for an injury. Made no sense to me, but they do want to rest this guy at some point. They've already said that. I'm sure Bradley Beal doesn't want to rest. He's playing for an NBA All-Team, which if he gets that, he's eligible for the Supermax or whatever it is, max contract. So Bradley Beal, I'd just be cautious of him today. I'd have the reason there, caution. Same thing for De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield, because this is a perfect situation to rest a Bradley Beal. A Sunday, these where you're going to have rest. I don't believe they're on any back-to-back. They might be. Don't hold me to that. I actually haven't checked the front ends of back-to-backs. And a tough matchup. So keep an eye on that. This slate can get a little wonky for a 4-game slate. Could see a lot of potential rest spots here. A lot of guys who are questionable that we're waiting on. So let's go over into the target offense sheet. And if you could hit me right now with a thumbs up, I'd greatly appreciate it. Drop down in the comments down below. What was your favorite part? And since we're closing this out, what is your favorite part of these NBA videos that I do? I know a lot of people like the target offense sheet. What is something that you'd like to see added? I just want some feedback on them, especially for next season, which is a far ways away. But I don't know if you like the WNBA. I'm sure not a lot of people do. I'm sure you don't even know that the WNBA is a very profitable DFS sport because there's limited information out there. It takes a lot of effort to find the information, whether it's data, whether it's actual news on people being in or out. And a lot of people just leave zeros in their lineups often. It's very easy to cash in cash tournaments. If you play right and there's not a lot of people 150 maxing these tournaments at all, you can actually walk away with a pretty penny. Look, low, like hockey, there's low totals in terms of the prizes, a lot smaller than hockey prize pools, but I'm excited for it. It starts in May. Not the biggest baseball guy in terms of DFS, but I'm going to hope to get into that as the NBA trickles down. So, target offense sheet. I have all the different slates on here. Yesterday was a little messed up. Today, I got it all figured out. It's all good to go. All the slates are on here. You have the showdown slate, you have the 2-game slate, you have the night 4-game slate. I do not know why they broke up a 6 p.m. game into a 2-game slate, and then they just made it a 4-game slate at night. I don't know what's up with their contests. I know they're trying to get more contests out there, but why not make this Atlanta-Milwaukee game and OKC-Dallas game that are the afternoon games, make that a 2-game slate, knock down this 6 p.m. slate to the 4-game slate to make it a 5-game slate. That just sounds a lot better in my mind, but I don't know. So, I'm not really going to break down anything in the showdown slate. Matchups don't matter. Nothing matters in a 1-game sample or 1 game. It's hard to get an edge. You can look at this and just play the guys who are in better positions. I think that makes sense, but a lot of other people are going to do that. 2-game slate, same thing. If you're going to be playing it, you could just look at this sheet. Let's go to the 4-game slate. So there's just a ton of good defensive teams on the 4-game slate in general. I mean, you have Denver, you have Golden State, you have Memphis, and you have Sacramento, who is playing very good as of late on defense, and including San Antonio, who since about a month ago has turned around their defensive woes that they had on a long road stand that lasted what seems like 18 to 19 days at that time. So there's a lot of good defensive teams, solid defensive teams. You also have Washington, who's not solid at defense at all. Charlotte, who's actually middle of the pack, as well as the Clippers, who have been better as of late. So San Antonio versus Sacramento, we'll break them all down. San Antonio side of the ball, I'm interested in LaMarcus Aldridge. I'll get into it. This slate, you're going to notice there's a lot of question marks early on. We're going to need some news. Back-to-backs, potentially a lot of Memphis guys sitting out. We need some news on the question marks in some of these games, including Memphis. But we just went over those injury dashboard and the news there. So Sacramento and San Antonio, a pace of 103.91. I may or I may not have lied here. There we go. 103.91, the highest pace on the slate. Sacramento just sprints when they play. 227 total, the second highest on the slate. None of these games are supposed to be competitive, or at least Vegas predicts that. 9.5 point spread on this one. That is the second closest spread on this slate. The only one closer in terms of being more competitive is this Hammer game at 8, or at the late game, 8 spread on it, and that is a favored in the Clippers' way against Memphis. So yeah, not a lot of attractive games at all on these slates. Really, no attractive games on the slates if you just look at it from top to bottom. The Pelicans and Lakers is the most attractive in terms of competitiveness, just because all of their guys are out today. LeBron is sitting. Anthony Davis probably right now, but he'll probably end up sitting. So look, not a lot of good basketball. We'll do what we can here. It seems like an overall bad slate early on. It just seems like a lot of things can go wacky and rotations can get all out of whack, whether it's a blowout or just late season news and injuries just dropping. So keep an eye on everything. San Antonio, I'm really just looking at one, Derek White. He's $4,900. Don't look into the last game where he only played 20 minutes. I owned him in that game, so I know very well that he had 3 fouls. He had 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes after he was playing very well. He had 8 fantasy points in the first 3 minutes, picked up his second foul, sat on the bench, came back early or mid-second quarter, got another foul, went right back to the bench. So he played 20 minutes in that game after playing right around the high 20s where he's been as of late. Bryn Forbes has been playing phenomenal, though, so that does scare me, although they have been starting next to each other 1 and 2 for a decent amount of the season, but I'd keep an eye on that. So Derek White at 4,900 just seems too cheap in this spot where if he gets his 30 minutes, he could very well, he is a point per minute guy right around there, he could very well have a great game. In the fastest big pace up spot for him at the point guard position, I like that. LaMarcus Aldridge, I also like. Been starting at the 5 as of late with Rudy Gay starting over Jakob or whatever they want to call him, or whatever, however you pronounce his name. I'm sorry, I will butcher the last name. Polati, I don't know. But Rudy Gay's been starting over him at the 4 now, which pushes Aldridge to the 5. Interested in Aldridge here against Sacramento, especially if we're going to get a lot of these bigs out, and he's going to be going up against the likes of Kufos and Willie Cauley-Stein. So interested in Aldridge, interested in Derek White. Outside of that, no real interest. Sacramento side, I already said be cautious. You're going to get less minutes at a much higher price to De'Aaron Fox today. I'm not going to say I guarantee it, but I feel very confident in that. And I believe you're going to get less minutes out of a similar price in terms of just where he's been at all year or the past month in Buddy Hield. And if you're not getting those extra minutes out of Buddy Hield, who is going to then lose a couple of shots, I don't love it. Sacramento side of the ball, what I do like here, if we get Bielitsa news out and Harry Giles out, which is what I'm leaning on right now. I have Bielitsa in the projections, Harry Giles out, but we'll have to see. Well, actually, I think I have them both out in the projections. I do like Marvin Bagley, even on the second night of a back-to-back. He's only 6,700 power forward eligible and on a 4-game slate. A guy like that who should still see around 30 minutes. I'm not too worried about his minutes being limited, especially if those guys are out. Somebody has to play. 6,700 is down from where he was just at, around 7,300, and now it's at a point where I do want to pay for that price. Outside of that, right now, Sacramento, Bogdan Bogdanovic. I was talking in Discord yesterday. I loved him once we got news that Bielitsa was out. That lineup when Bielitsa is out usually looks something like De'Aaron Fox, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and then you get 3 at Buddy Hield, 4 Harrison Barnes, 5 Willie Cauley-Stein. I'm not sure if yesterday the 4 was Marvin Bagley, but that's the lineup usually. You got 35 minutes out of Bogdanovic, who hadn't played anywhere near 30 as of late. I think you get something similar to that today if Bielitsa is out. I was on him yesterday. His price came up $300. I think he's still fine. Denver and Washington. So not looking at much here. Denver bigs I'm interested in. I'm interested in Paul Millsap. The 4 has the best position on the entire slate by a wide margin against Washington. Washington, though, has been playing bigger as of late. We'll see what their lineup is today. If it's Thomas Bryant at the 5 and Bobby Portis at the 4, those rebounding numbers become a bit better for Washington, even though you can see they're pretty dreadful, 0.95 compared to the league average around 1. Worst on this slate by a mile, worst overall in general for the season. So for Denver, Paul Millsap, 6,200, price staying the same. Minutes coming down, which is a worry, so something to keep an eye on for sure. But on a 4-game slate, it is worth pointing out there that Washington is pretty bad at rebounding. Paul Millsap has a great matchup. It's just a matter of him getting the minutes. Nikola Jokic, one of the only pay-up options really on this 4-game slate. The pay-up option, I guess I would say, and he's still not 10K. Yeah, it's just one of those slates where I'm really not even interested too much in Jokic. He has a great matchup. I have some interest in him if I can get up there. I imagine I can because there's really nobody that's expensive on this slate when you're talking 10-figure guys. And then Mason Plumlee. So hear me out here. You need cheap guys. Mason Plumlee is a little bit too expensive, I would say, for what he's doing. He's 4,800, I believe, but he's going to see it around 20 minutes. Millsap's minutes have been coming down, so if you're somebody who doesn't want to play Millsap, the direct leverage there would be Plumlee, who can easily see 23, 24 minutes in this game. If it blows out, as Vegas is somewhat predicting here with the 11.5 point spread, you get more minutes out of him. I won't weigh that. That doesn't go into my projections. Oh, Mason Plumlee is going to get 3 more minutes because it's going to blow out. No, I have Mason Plumlee right now, I believe, at 21 minutes in the projections. But in 21 minutes, Mason Plumlee can do a lot. He can very well get you into the mid-20s. He can get you into the 30s. And if he sees more minutes, it's fine. Look, you're playing on a 4-game slate. In cash, it might not be the best option, but in the tournament, you have to be different somewhere. I like to leave around $300 or more on the table today. Mason Plumlee is a decent way to do that and still have upside, very big upside in terms of what he can do for you. Outside of that, not interested in Jamal Murray, not interested in the Gary Harris, the Will Bartons. It's just the bigs for Denver against Washington. Washington side of the ball, there's no real interest here. They all have pretty terrible matchups. Thomas Bryant, I don't want him against any of these guys. I do not want Bobby Portis would be the only one I would look at. He just came off of a career game though, pretty much 60 plus fantasy points, absolutely killed it, played 38, 39 minutes. Would not expect anywhere near that again, although there's going to be a lot of people who will see that game log and throw Bobby Portis in. He will have an inflated ownership today on a 4-game slate that he should not have on most slates, but he still should play 30 to 32 minutes. I think I have him in for 32 right now. So right now he would be the only one that I have somewhat of interest in, but this Denver team is huge. That does not favor him at all. Paul Millsap, Mason Plumlee, Jokic, none of these guys are great matchups for Bobby Portis. So overall in Washington, not getting there, not really worried about getting there either. Below average paced game. Every game on this slate is below average outside of that first game in Sacramento, San Antonio. Again, ugly games on this slate. Going to another ugly game, although it has the highest total. 12-point spread, their favorites, Golden State against the Charlotte Hornets. Golden State has the highest implied total on the slate at 120.75. Charlotte, 108.75. Again, Golden State, 12-point favorites here. There's a lack of pay-up options, right? I think Curry and Durant are the 2 and 3 in terms of pay-up options. I prefer Durant there. Against this Charlotte team, just like his matchup a little bit better, individual down low against Charlotte where there are literally no bigs right now. Look, I'm not going to hurt you or I'm not going to say you can't play Curry or Durant. They're pretty much a coin flip on any given night. I just prefer Durant right now. Outside of that on Golden State, look, these are the slates that I hate because 4-game slate, you have to play Golden State guys. They have the highest implied total. Even if it blows out, they're going to get their run. The problem is, there's 5 of them that can have a good game. I'd say really 4. Draymond, not so much. The Boogie Cousins has only been playing 26, 27 minutes, so you could count it down to 3. But even then, there's 3 to 5 of these guys that can have a great game today. And very well, 3 of them could. And I never like rostering any of them because they can very well also just cut into each other and nobody sees over 40 fantasy points today. But on a 4-game slate, you have to take your stabs here. I like Durant. I never like rostering Klay Thompson. But today might be that day. You have to get exposure to Golden State here on a 4-game slate. They have the highest applied team total by 2 points. And then after that, it just drops off and it starts to drop off on the slate. 115, 5 points, 5.75 points less with the Clippers. So you have to get pieces of this Golden State game. And that scares me because I never like rostering many Golden State guys. I said I prefer Durant. I'd have to look into it a little more, but that's where I stand right now. The Charlotte side of the ball, there's a lot to like here. The centers, I'm not even going to play that guessing game. I'll let some other people burn their money. And if somehow they pick a Bismack Biyombo or a Willie Hernangomez 30-point game out of thin air, then whatever, I lose. I don't want to put my money on that ever. But I do like Miles Bridges and I do like Dwayne Bacon. Look, Batum didn't play last game, right? So these guys are going to get run. Bacon is still too cheap if he's going to play 35 minutes. Miles Bridges, I have him in for 33 minutes today. I have to adjust Bacon's minutes projection, actually. And you guys can see that behind the scenes now that I'm talking about it. Oh, no, I have him at 34. I think I'm confident or comfortable with that. So, yeah, I'm comfortable with 34. I thought I didn't adjust him for Batum being out, but I guess I did. So, yeah, those are the guys that I like. They're cheap. They're guys that are going to be productive and get minutes. Not the greatest of matchups for them, but they're also going to be pretty much blowout proof. They're going to get their run out there no matter what. Outside of that, yeah, Kemba's on the slate. Kemba is also a nice pay-up spot. If this game is close at all and you want to game stack a game that not a lot of people are going to game stack a 12-point spread, if the game stays close at all, Kemba is likely having his ceiling 60 to 70-point game. And then if you run it back with a Durant, a Curry, whoever you want, and it goes into overtime or just stays competitive, you're likely in a spot where you have low-owned studs going off because people are scared of the blowout. Outside of that, no real interest in Marvin Williams. For me, it's really just, you can throw a dart with Frank Kaminsky, but I'd rather have around the same price point. A guy like Dwayne Bacon. It's Miles Bridges 1, Dwayne Bacon 2, Kemba Walker 3 for me in this game. But I think Kemba is a very interesting tournament play. He will still be highly owned because it's only a 4-game slate, but nowhere near as owned as he should be. And last but certainly not least, the slowest pace game on the entire slate. Believe it or not, Memphis Grizzlies are in that game. They have a 98.7 pace on the season. A huge pace down spot here for the Clippers. They're losing almost 4 possessions in this game. That worries me. Memphis gaining about 1.5. Pretty much they gain possessions. Whoever they play is a pace up spot for them. So a couple things to break down. Gallinari, I imagine he plays today. He's been resting as of late. 2 out of the last 3 or 4 games. Keep an eye on Gallinari. Or actually it might be 2 out of 5 games. The last time he rested was a week or so ago. So keep an eye on Gallinari. I'm not too worried about things there. Lou Williams rested the other day, so keep an eye on him. If everybody's in, not much that I really care about on this Clippers team. If Gallinari's out, I'm fine going right back to JaMychal Green, who went off in a very limited 23 minutes yesterday. He's just a very good point per minute guy. If Lou Williams or if Gallinari's out, I have some interest in Gilgeous-Alexander, but not a ton. So this Clippers team, if everybody is healthy, no real interest for me. You could throw Lou Williams into a tournament. Played very well in only 23 minutes yesterday. Nobody finished those last 4 or 5 minutes in that game as it blew out pretty quickly against the Cavs. So no real interest for me on this Clippers side. On the Memphis side, there's a lot of interest. So Joval, smash bot. Joval's price comes down $100. He just went off for 70 plus fantasy points last night. He's in a smash spot. By far, best matchup on this entire slate against the Clippers. You target them all year long. Give me as much Joval as I can get. I'm fine going 100% Joval. Yes, 100% lock of Joval. If we get the news that he's fine, there's no issues with the back-to-back. I do like Mike Conley as well. Price still not up there on this slate where you can pretty much afford him and still get up to a Jokic and still get up to a Durant. I'm fine playing Mike Conley here. And then if you want to run through the other pieces of this game, Bruno Caboclo, if Chandler Parsons is out, should be locked in for 35 minutes, if not more. He's a terrible point per minute guy, 0.77, but he's been playing extremely well as of late. Small sample over the past week or so, but it's something to at least consider. DeLon Wright, fine. Tyler Dorsey. All these guys are going to get the minutes. If you get news that Mike Conley is out, slide in DeLon Wright, slide in Tyler Dorsey, and just slide in Jonas and play those three. And they've all been going off in the time that Mike Conley gets out. You could even go Caboclo. So keep an eye on this. I have a weird feeling that something is going to happen on this slate in terms of Bradley Beal or Mike Conley being rested. Or even a De'Aaron Fox, something like that. So keep an eye for this news. That's pretty much where I stand right now. I'll pop over to the early interests. Early interest, there's not a ton. It's a 4-game slate, and it is a slate where I already mentioned that I have worries about a lot of guys, the Sacramento guys, the Bradley Beals, and just overall teams that I don't want to have many pieces of in general. So it's going to be a very concise, condensed spot. Paces and totals just aren't popping up, but that's fine right here. I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, so I just have to drag the VLOOKUP down. So it is very condensed. You can see that right here. Joval, love him. I said yesterday, I believe that him and Ben Simmons were my favorite players on the slate. Joval ends up being the highest scoring on the main slate. Ben Simmons got over 50. That worked out fine for me. Marvin Bagley at 6,700. If Bielitz is out, I love him even more. Same exact thing for his teammate Bogdanovic. If Bielitz is out, Bogdanovic will get more minutes. Not a lot of people notice that, but their rotation shifts down. Harrison Barnes goes to the 4. Buddy Hield goes from the 2 to the 3. And then you get Bogdan starting at the 2, which I like, or at least coming off the bench and playing extremely more minutes, or a lot more minutes. Bruno Caboclo as well for Memphis. Look, you need cheaper options. He's 5,300 now, which is so scary because he could easily go out there and score 18 points. But if he's playing 35 minutes and he scores 18 points, that might be a record for how bad you are. And then if you're rostering him, you might as well feel comfortable that you have that bad of a player on there because he scored 0.5 points per minute. It's going to suck, but you could at least say you had a record low. No, I'm just kidding. But Bruno Caboclo, if he's going to get in for 35 minutes, feel fine with him at that price. I'm fine if you also want to go to Mason Plumlee for the cheaper price point and similar upside in terms of the amount of minutes, or similar upside, but if you want the more secure minutes, you're going to go Caboclo. Paul Millsap, scary at 6,200 to pay for that, although it is one of his cheaper prices over the past month. It's scary because his minutes are coming down, which again, that's a bump for Mason Plumlee, like you see at 4,800 right below him. Nikola Jokic, the only pay-up spot on this slate. Again, if you can lock in any 50 burgers on this slate, you have to. Jokic is one of those guys, especially against Washington, that can do it. I think that Durant and Curry are the other ones, as well as Kemba. Obviously, the price indicates all of that. I think Jokic is the one on this slate who does it more so than any of those other ones. Derek White, 4,900, too cheap. If he gets around his 27 to 29 minutes like he's been getting over the past few weeks, and even touches 30 here, I like the matchup in a huge pace-up spot where De'Aaron Fox should be off the court for a little bit extra minutes today. Durant, already mentioned him. In terms of the Warriors, I'm very scared in this spot. You have to play the Warriors today on eight teams on a slate when they have the highest implied total in the 120s, and there's some awful teams on this slate. You have to play the Warriors. I like Durant. It probably goes for me. Durant, Steph, Clay in that order. Price probably indicates that. I don't really want to touch DeMarcus Cousins playing 26, 27 minutes. In 26 minutes, DeMarcus Cousins can easily go for 45 fantasy points, and he probably will now today. But it's just, for me, not something that I want to be going towards. And then these Charlotte guys, Dwayne Bacon bringing it back on this side of the other side of this game. Dwayne Bacon, Miles Bridges, too cheap. Dwayne Bacon at 4,500. Batum's not going to be playing anytime at all. Probably the best value play on this entire slate right now. He is cheaper than a Mason Plumlee. He is cheaper than a Bruno Caboclo, and I think he's way more productive, and he's going to see around the exact same minutes as Caboclo, probably 10 to 12 more than a Mason Plumlee. Bridges has just been fantastic. I have him in for 33 minutes to play today. 5,400, another nice spot for him. So that is it. It is a 4-game slate. If you want to play the showdown in 2-game slate, fine. That's totally okay. But that's it. I'm going to upload this video for you guys and girls. Please hit me with a like button before you go. I am tired. I need water. I need food. But we're going to power through and do a baseball show now. So thank you guys. Thank you girls so much. I appreciate it. My name's Sal. Best of luck today. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up wherever you have to with any questions. Peace out, gang.